we wanted to take this opportunity of spending time with you, not necessarily talking about logistics from a specific tactical point, but to take maybe a broader look on the DTC market. We know that some customers, some brands actually think, should we, shouldn't we? What do we need to do? What will it entail, and what are the odds to succeed? So Josh rolled up his sleeve and got into some investigative work on the industry. Of course, us in Nutrifresh, to whoever haven't met us yet, we're an e-com platform specializing with refrigerated and frozen um, shipments directly to consumers' home. We ship out of 10 locations around the country. Uh, and our major role is to help you guys do that in a sustainable way where you actually get to keep a margin. What we have seen, and to go a little bit deeper, what COVID brought uh, to the industry today is a major lift. It made the DTC channel, the direct to consumer channel, uh, a very mainstream channel for brands to send product to their customers. We have seen brands that were solely retail got hit by COVID, making their first chance. The adoption was quick, and we loved it. As as it became more mainstream, now we see brands who wouldn't even dream of. We're watching high-end food products that come in at four, 500, $1,000 a shipment, actually allows themselves to ship it on FedEx because now there is the possibility to get it done more right than it was before. And the consumer is actually willing to accept it without having to go through that special experience of going to the butcher to get that special A5 cut meat or the lobster tail that wasn't even a possibility 2 years ago. Um, I will leave the floor to Josh. It's usually a much longer lecture than 30 minutes. We would love to leave time for Q&A. So feel free, reach out. Let us know what you want us to cover if we're missing anything. Michelle, if you want to jump in, if we're missing any question that you believe is important, feel free. But at that, I'll give it to Josh.
Great, thanks. So, first of all, pleasure to be here with everybody. Thanks for taking the time to join and for listening. As Guy said, feel free to jump in with questions. Michelle, if things pop up, just shout out. Just kind of keep it informal. We put a few pages together just to give a little bit of perspective. Guy covered some of this, but just to give a little a little more background on who we are and what we do. As Guy said, we ship out of 10 locations around the country. We cover primarily perishable e-commerce fulfillment for food and bev brands. We also do some work with beauty and other non-food and bev brands as well, skincare, beauty care, stuff like that. We handle all of the inventory management, all the kit assembly, shipping, packing, optimization of shipments by carrier, and then tracking, allowing our customers to focus on what they do best, which is be online marketers of products they sell. So we thought it'd be interesting to have a topic around COVID, a little bit the impact of COVID, what we've experienced, the things that we cover, and how that's changed over time. We really see sort of five key markets, as I just mentioned. We do a lot of specialty food. That might be frozen fish. It might be confections, things like that. We obviously do meal kits, pet food. And over the last couple of years, we've seen the concentration of those change in the market. Whereas if you go back, 2 years ago and even more than that before, heavily concentrated on meal kits. Think, the Blue Aprons, the Hello Freshes, and that's morphed into some higher end meal kits, and then more focused concentration around specialty foods and other things. So more narrowly focusing the basket of product that our customers provide, but increasing the stickiness of the relationship between the brand and their consumers. And then other things increasing as well. When you think about COVID and how our markets changed, obviously everybody knows e-commerce is a growing space. If you just think the top right chart here, I think it does a pretty good job of depicting, when you think about the food and bev market as a whole, not just e-commerce, you're talking about, 27, $30 billion market in the US. Sorry, back to the e-commerce space, 270 to $300 billion market. The e-commerce piece of that is a small fraction. You're talking about, single digits. So high growth in our space is relatively modest percentages of total market. So when you look at this and you say the space has been growing fast, last year what we effectively got was a 2-year pull ahead on what's really otherwise been happening. So a big acceleration. Our customers found they were able to buy their SEO much better last year. That was a big benefit. Some general trends and things that I think are supporting the dynamics of what our market is with how people consume, how people buy food product, whether it's in-person dining, click and pick up, convenience things, etc. A little more color on things in the market, what's happened with meal kit delivery. Meal kits continue to grow pretty significantly. We talked about food and bev. Cold logistics is growing rapidly. That's sort of the general space that we play in. You're seeing impact of this in every facet. It sort of never surprises us or I suppose always surprises us how many brands there are out there that are up and coming, shipping hundreds, thousands, even 10,000 shipments a week that you've probably never heard of. There's a big space and a huge opportunity for growth and participation by everybody. Pre-COVID, I think it's sort of relevant to think about what was going on in the market before COVID versus now. Obviously, we were seeing growth. It's been a rapidly growing space. Meal kits, e-commerce, grocery. One of the things I don't think we actually do. So here's something I thought was interesting. On the right-hand side of the page, you see the adoption by market, right? By generation. And pre-COVID, this was a space that was.
I don't think the slide is moving. We still see the overview one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's not good. That means my screen's frozen. How do I do that? I don't want to. How about now?
Yep.
Oh, so you guys haven't been seeing any of the slides I've been sharing?
Nope.
Okay.
We'll publish it later for everybody.
We have great slides for everybody. That's a shame. But that's okay. I'm sure we'll get it out to everybody. Hopefully everybody's been following what I've been talking through. Maybe I'll keep talking and leave this up here in the background. People can digest a little bit. You'll get to it in a second, but what I was saying was, adoption by age group is interesting. And while obviously, the younger people are, the more adept they are at adopting things like buying food online. Through COVID, what you've seen is all the way up into the baby boomer generation where, people are much more open to buying things online, having food shipped to their house, not just their Amazon stuff, but everything. And that's been an interesting development. This is the trend chart I was talking about before, just in terms of the pre-pandemic to post-pandemic changes. I'll click ahead here. We talked a little bit about meal kit delivery. Meal kit has sort of stabilized a little bit, has continued growth, big growth from 19 to 20 with the onset of COVID. There seems to be a pretty good stickiness around that. I think there's been some interesting developments and studies done by the McKinseys of the world and others that gives evidence that there's been a real shift and the adoption by consumers to buying their food stuff online is not a short-lived thing. This move is here to stay. It's not so much of a trend as it is a real market shift in consumer behavior. I think that was all we had in terms of slides to take everybody through. I'd love to take questions to the extent there are any. Michelle, I don't know what's out there, but Guy, feel free to jump in and add
So
whatever.
yeah, the one thing I wanted to add as well, alongside the age groups of people and the adoption of this channel of distribution becoming mainstream, is think of the products that you used to order online, each and every one of us, and the products that we're ordering now. And we see a pretty big growth with people who were classic experience-based purchase, right? If it's a high-end protein, or if it's a high-end fish, you wanted to go to the market and test it. Look at the freshness. Right now, there's a huge movement towards shipping those. We're seeing Michelin star chefs actually cooking meals and shipping it with FedEx. Now it's on us, and we do that regularly, is to guide them how to keep the freshness pristine. How do we ensure through our network and through our logistics optimization that it does arrive overnight and does not arrive within the second or third day, making the quality less than what the customer expects. We're seeing brands where people import international foods. We see a frozen pizza line, handmade in Italy, flash frozen, sent to us, being shipped to the American consumer. It's what I'm trying to say is that what we're seeing is a lot of the brands have become hesitant, especially the very high-end brands. If I can think of brands that won't necessarily have to struggle with perishability, but the high value, or the customer experience that needs to be super high end and arrive within a day or two, similar to the perishable brands, but not necessarily for food safety, more for the experience and the impulse shopping. Uh, to those guys, I say, go for it. The systems are ready, the carriers are ready. People like Nutrifresh, especially us, are aware on how to optimize, how to get there within one day, how to get there within maximum 2 days. Can guide you through how to ship your packaging, how to choose, how to customize, how to make it your own and not necessarily a blank envelope that arrives in the mail. And that's basically it. That's basically what we have seen. Uh, I mean, I think we've even seen jewelry starting to ship online, which was complete shock to us. And I don't know, Michelle, if we have any questions from the viewers or something, would love to jump on it now.
This is, I'm looking at the presentation here. This is fantastic. So many of our brands saw so much value in hearing about the trends coming out of the pandemic, and also too going into this year, which is such a big year. It's like a reemergence. So, to the extent that you haven't dug into that, that would be really interesting for me to hear about.
So I think that slide that we're on actually presents it in the best way.
Yeah.
If you want to look at the table on the left, the trend line is where we believe the industry would have gone if COVID didn't happen. That's based on prior to 3 years and the way the industry grew. And you see the solid line is where COVID is actually taken. And it's not that we hear a lot of brands tell us, large brands, right? Brands with quote unquote something to lose. Tell us, I don't know if direct to consumer is for me, because one of many reasons, right? The customer experience, it's expensive. We don't know. What everybody needs to understand is that this is really becoming a mainstream channel of distribution. And what you need to understand is people are buying things today I mean, it's funny, but we share a building in one of our locations with a very high-end electronics distributor. And every day when they open the truck after they picked up from him and we see what's shipping, it's hundreds and thousands of dollars in electronics that's going FedEx. And that's something that no one would ever imagine if you think a year ago. And that's what we see. And that's what I think is the idea we're trying to promote here today is skincare. We're working with a very exciting skincare line. We're working with food. If I looked at the panelists before, you don't need to get to a physical location very close to your customer. Right now, you can sell out of one central location. Let the carriers do the job for you. And today, with the abundance of carriers and with the emergence of regionals, you can actually really control that experience to get to a point where it's as if they came to your store.
Totally. And by the way, also too, this question just came in from our audience. I'd love to hear your perspective. The question is, how can small businesses take advantage of operational technology expertise when they're operating with low budget, right? Especially companies, I mean, this year has been a unique year where budget has been having to shift in different directions. So I'd love to hear your perspective.
So the perfect answer is in those slides. When you come to a service like us, we aggregate volume. So when you start working with us, the value you represent to the carriers is our entire overall volume, right? We put it very early on our flag is that to be very startup friendly. So we're shying away from high onboarding costs. We're shying away from egregious minimums. We're shying away from licensing fees. And listen, my CFO is right in the square below me, right? I cannot tell you how many discussions we've had when he says, "Guy, we need to charge for this." And I'm telling him, "Josh, but we want to be that incubator for those brands." So if you do choose that partner like us, like many others, not as good as us, but I'm sure that there are, we will allow you to use our overall volume and our IT team and our buying power. And perfect example is dry ice, right? So I know the question was about technology, but take dry ice as an example. Dry ice is a product of the fuel and oil industry. Josh can go into it deeper, but when you make fuel, the waste is dry ice. No one drove, planes didn't fly, there was no dry ice in the market. We were able to get it because we had 4 or 5 contracts. Others, smaller or small brands that try to ship it alone, had to go without it for a week or two and miss shipping. So those are the advantages that we bring. Josh, I'm not sure if you have any.
No, I think that's right. I think, look, there's if you're working with a good 3PL partner, there like us, there's a lot of technology that we bring to bear with our service, right? So, we have a warehouse management system that maintains all of your inventories in it. Our system also manages, there are certain things that are simple and basic and not expensive, right? You're going to have an online shopping cart like a Shopify or WooCommerce or whatever. Our system is going to tie directly into that, grab your orders and process everything. From there, we track everything for you. So if you're working with a good 3PL partner, there's a lot of tech that you can leverage off of them and tag into into what you've got.
Actually, you hit an interesting part, and to the extent that you hit it earlier, I'd love to dive deeper, actually, which is, you said if you're working with a good 3PL, right? I'd love to actually dive into what defines that. What, as a founder who's navigating the selection process of a 3PL, what questions should we be asking?
So, what's the phone number for Nutrifresh? That's the first question, right? But go ahead.
No, but the questions are valid, right? How many locations are you shipping from? How flexible are you, right? So we know that we do a quarterly work with every one of our brands, and sooner than that if they choose, where we look at all their data and do a BI session, right? A business intelligence session, run a simulation, tell them right now you're shipping. So we see two types of customers. One that come in with 20 shipments and want to ship out of 10 facilities, and the other that ship tens of thousands in a week, but want to stay in one because the logistics is scarce. Um, we our main role, in addition to actually shipping, is to guide them through that. We run them through a simulation and tell them, guys, due to your heat map, you're currently, let's say, in East West. We see a great value, and we can quantify that in exact dollars of you going into a third facility somewhere.
I think the point that Guy's making is, you want to be looking for a consultative partner, right? Somebody who is not just, who's not just packing boxes and sending stuff out the door, but who's bringing to bear their intelligence, their experience, their resources to help you grow your business, right? We always say, look, our customers, for the most part, are startups. They may be early stage, they may be later stage, but all of them are relatively new companies as startups. And so it's necessarily our job to help you grow your business, right? We're only successful if you grow your business. So what we look at is we go, our customers, we have customers that started where we shipped their very first package. We have customers that came to us and they were already shipping many thousands of shipments a week. And we look at each of them and say, how are they growing and what are we doing to help them? Are we a partner in that process? Are we an impediment in that process? And how do we do better? I think that's what everybody should be looking for. But at the end of the day, like it or not, they're your partner. Your 3PL is your partner. You're an online marketing company. They hold all your inventory. They get all your orders. They ship everything out. They touch your customer, right? What's more valuable than that? They touch your customer, and the question is, what kind of experience is your consumer going to have, and how do they help you get it done?
I'm glad you actually brought that up. Oh, sorry, Guy. Go ahead.
No. Oh, don't interrupt. That last point is it. The quicker they can allow you to become a marketing company, develop new product, go sell them, the quicker and better you'll be able to achieve stuff.
Can you expand on that? When you say the quicker they can allow you to be a marketing company, right? Is what you're saying there that the division of roles and responsibilities, right, and having the brand and product really lead on sales and marketing? Would love to actually hit that because I think it's such an important one, and we were talking about it earlier. So let's talk a little bit more about that division and even how what that role is and how you're helping support a brand when it comes to the customer experience and overall, marketing.
So,
customers come in with, I think here's part of the point. When we say be a marketing company, there's only so many things that each of us can do really well, right? And when you're trying to design product and you're trying to sell product, if you can have a good partner that can handle all of the logistics of how you get your product out to market physically, right? That's a big piece you can lay off. And chances are, right, if you're working with somebody who does a lot of it, they know things you don't, and they're going to do a better job of it. So it's that's a big element of when we say that, right? The idea is that, you do what you do well, right? Go run your Facebook ads, go run your Instagram ads, sell your product online, and let us handle a lot of the rest. That said, what we try to do is help you design your packaging, your experience, your environment with your customers. When customers come in, they have, different box sizes. We help to organize how to do that best. How do you simplify your structure? How do you do what you're doing, cleaner, better, more efficient?
Yeah, no, I mean, your most expensive resource is you. And what you need to ask yourself, especially at early stage when you're starting the business, is what you're doing now the most effective thing you can do to reach success in your business. So we see a lot of the guys telling me, yes, but I'll pack it so much nicer than you. You guys won't even know how to pack it. I don't want you. I want to pack my own boxes. Like, okay, but how many can you pack in a day before you miss the buyer's club? How many drivers can you chase that didn't arrive that won't cause you to miss the new marketing plan? So it's a whole balance. I get it. I mean, we joke. It's like seeing the customer that show up on a 3PL for the first time. It's like my wife in preschool. So she gave the kids to the teacher, and then she walks away and she peeks through the window, and she walks away and she hides through the desk. It's that, and it's a trust that we understand we have to build. But it's a healthy process, no, undoubtedly.
Absolutely. By the way, I love that you made that point. I spoke to a founder recently who was, in that moment where she's like, I'm so busy, I can't even breathe. I have 2 kids. I'm packing, I'm doing all the fulfillment. And I said to myself, and I thought of you, I said, there are so many solutions for this. Please, connect, because to your point, she's a creative genius. And sometimes you can just feel as though you really have to do it all. And that certainly doesn't have to be the case, right? There are so many incredible resources. Obviously, we've heard from a handful today, but the Nutrifresh team being one of them. So that's fantastic. And as we're in our final minute here, are there any other key kind of takeaways or action items that you think that our founders who are listening can take from today?
I said it already, but I'll say it again. Really go for it. If there was a time to go into the direct to consumer market, it is now. The level of technology, the level of sophistication that partners like us can bring in out of 10 facilities with 7 carriers and with technologies to help you pack better, work better. People who are afraid and use the excuse it's too expensive, forget it. This is the time to jump in and do it.
Thank you so much, Guy and Joshua. Thank you so much for bringing your wealth of knowledge. You've obviously built an incredible business and have been so helpful for so many of our brands. So I really, really appreciate you bringing all that expertise here today.